The debate of who's better, Messi or Ronaldo, will literally go on forever. I don't think there'll ever be a clear winner there. But when it comes to signature football boots, not only does Ronaldo beat out Messi, I think he beats out any other player ever because he has had some incredible signature models. And longtime fans of Ronaldo, longtime fans of the Mercurial series have wanted one colorway in particular to come back, and that was his very first one that came out 10 years ago now, the Safari colorway, which has now made its return in the form of the current Mercurial. It's available as a Superfly as well as a Vapor, but I have it here in the form of the Mercurial Superfly 7 Elite, and as you can see, it's incredible. And for those that are unfamiliar with the boots that I'm talking about, here's the OG Safari print CR7 Mercurial Superfly 2 from 2010, side by side with the Remake, which as you can see, is pretty darn close. I just read that Ronaldo has had 28 signature colorways since the release of the original all the way back in 2010. I'm not sure how accurate that number is, but I'm sure there's been at least that many. It's really too many for me to count at this point. Either way, this to me is easily one of the most memorable of his signature colorways, not just because it was the first one, but because it's easily one of the most distinctive, and I'm surprised it took as long as it has for Nike to finally make a remake. So with that in mind, in this video, we're gonna take a closer look at these because there's some really cool details that probably haven't been pointed out in a lot of the pictures that you've seen that we'll talk about here today. We'll talk a little bit about performance, and of course, we'll also take a look at how they fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around, watch the entire review. And if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, either the Superfly or the Vapor variations, they are limited edition boots, so please keep that in mind. I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That's gonna take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to pick these up below their normal retail price. Also, if you guys do end up enjoying the video, please don't forget to support it with a like. And if you are new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on weekly content on everything football boots, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now, as far as extras go, when Nike does something special with the boots, they typically do something special with the packaging, which as you can see, they have, with the box being the white and black Safari print. It's the normal style box, so it still has the Nike logo in black on the top, but you will find some orange Nike swooshes around the box. And for those that are curious about the label, that's what it looks like. It does say CR7 on the actual size tag, which we don't often see. Inside the box, you'll find that it's finished in this nice matte orange color with a gloss Safari print Nike swoosh there on the underside of the lid, which is pretty cool. And then the most important part of the packaging is, of course, the string bag, which is always included with the top end model. These are no different, but as you can see, this one is pretty special in that it's unsurprisingly the Safari print in white and black. Black strings, it has the orange Nike swoosh and Mercurial logo there on the front with nothing on the back other than more Safari print. It's a little bit surprising that the bag doesn't have any CR7 branding on it at all. I think some people might actually like that though. As a whole, it's a really nice string bag. It gets a rating of 7 out of 7.77. Now, as for the boots themselves, specifically the colorway, I think Nike as a whole has done a really good job. If you're familiar with these, you'll immediately recognize what the Remake is trying to look like. With that said, there are some details that are not the same and also just completely different entirely, and I want to point those out for you. Now, on the original, what was a signature element of this boot wasn't just the white and black Safari print across the entire upper, but hopefully you can see it in video form because it's not always obvious in pictures. It has this chevron design running across the sides of the boot on both the lateral and medial side, with the chevron going in a forward direction on the lateral side and then backwards on the medial side, where you can see some of the Safari print dots are basically just faded to create that pattern. It's very, very subtle, and honestly, you don't notice it unless you're right on top of the boots up close, but for whatever reason, they chose not to incorporate that on the Remake. It's just a white base with the black Safari print dots, no chevron pattern whatsoever, which ultimately is not a big deal, but I have to assume that it was probably just more expensive for them to do it that way, so they just chose not to do it, which is somewhat disappointing. Now, another huge important detail of this boot is the large orange Nike swoosh, specifically the color and position of the swoosh. And as you can see, when you have them side by side, the swoosh does appear to be a little bit lower to the edge of the boot on the Superfly 7. The size is almost identical, but I think the positioning looking different has more to do with the physical shape of the toe box and shape of the boot in general. It's much higher and much bulkier on the Superfly 2, so the slimmer profile of the Superfly 7 just makes it look like it's a little bit different, but the actual color of orange is spot on. It's almost identical, which is about as much as you can ask for, and I like the fact that it does have the big swoosh here on the medial side as well, although as you can see, they have added some ACC branding because the Superfly 2, the OG back in 2010, this is a pre-ACC Nike football boot, which I don't think a lot of people realize. The laces, another important detail. You can see on the original, it has the safari print dots that kind of blend in to the rest of the upper. You almost don't see the laces here, where of course on the Flyknit construction of the Superfly and Vapor that we have in 2020, the Flyknit cannot have the safari print. All the safari print in is just like a Nike skin covering on the top to kind of cover up that top layer of Flyknit, but obviously that's left exposed to allow for some stretch across the top of the foot, but you still have the safari print laces, although they're not as nice as the original in that the safari print itself, as you can very subtly see, does not go right to the edges. You kind of have like a white border, where these, it's almost perfect in terms of how it's put together. Again, not identical, but they did a good enough job, so I can't really complain too much. You'll also find that on the back of the boot, they have added the orange Mercurial logo, which wouldn't have been there on the original, so that is a subtle difference as well. And then of course, there's the sole plate, where you have the carbon fiber sole plate with the orange studs. It looks a little bit different because not all the studs along the side profile are orange. I heard some people say that because this is a split sole, they could have incorporated some black and kind of just changed the color of the studs slightly. I guess they could have done that. I don't think it's entirely necessary, and given how much different this design is, what they did is pretty good. I like the fact that the safari print flows through the split sole, through the midfoot, which looks quite cool, the cutout right here as well. And they went with the translucent stud plate, so you can still see the safari print on the underside, but it has this wearable surface finish that is kind of just multicolor in terms of its effect. Very, very cool looking, and a little bit of an orange detail here in this kind of V or Y shape that you have running through the forefoot. So as a whole, I can't be mad at any of the exterior details. Something else that's interesting about this particular CR7 signature, not only the fact that it's his first, but the fact that there isn't any CR7 branding on the outside of the boot whatsoever. So unless you knew that this was a CR7 signature and of course saw him wearing them on TV, there's no way to tell, which is kind of a common complaint of a lot of the more recent CR7 signatures, or just the boots he's had over the years, and that people don't like the giant CR7 that Nike often puts on his signature colorways. The first one didn't have that, but it wasn't missing Cristiano Ronaldo's name entirely. If you look at the inside of the OG, there's an insole. I'll quickly remove that. There we go, but you can see it's a black insole, and then it has this little rectangle, which was kind of a common thing for all CR7 signatures for a certain time. And you can see it says created to the exact specifications of Cristiano Ronaldo. There's a bunch of zeros and a number 1, signifying that this was his first ever signature colorway. I can't tell you how many people over the years have DM'd me on Instagram, sending me pictures of their OG Mercurials, thinking that they have literally number 1 out of however many thousands of boots they made. It's not the case. They all say number 1. The Remake, however, is a little bit different in that the insole does have, of course, some CR7 mentions, but they're different both left and right. On the right boot, you're going to find CR7 here, his silhouette doing his signature goal celebration with the number 7 in the middle, which is a pretty cool detail. Otherwise, it's just a black insole, and it's kind of cool that it doesn't have any Nike branding. And then on the left boot, if I remove that really quickly, you'll find that it does have the CR7 logo as well as his signature. Again, no Nike branding on the insole, black in color. So that's really the only CR7 mention you're gonna find on this entire football boot. But that's enough about the colorway. What about the boots themselves? And I'm not gonna go into any great detail on the performance of the current generation of Mercurial. It's arguably the best Mercurial Nike has ever made, certainly the best Flyknit Mercurials Nike has ever made. But these are both Superflies. They are 10 years apart. How do they actually compare? So with that in mind, let's do a little bit of Superfly history, because I think it's very interesting. On paper, from a technical standpoint, these are equally as impressive as what Nike is currently making in the Mercurial series. This is an upper made out of Teijin synthetic, and while it's difficult to see on this particular colorway because of all the patterns that you have going on, but there are Flyknit cables that basically run all the way through the forefoot, almost like a couple millimeters apart, all the way into the heel area, all directly attaching to the lacing system and creating an upper that is remarkably structured. The Superfly 2 is quite possibly the stiffest football boot ever made. So if you could stand wearing them because they are that stiff, once you actually broke them in and they felt comfortable for you, the responsiveness from this upper, because of how much structure it has, is really impressive. From a touch standpoint, the synthetic itself isn't actually that thin. The Mercurial synthetic would get significantly thinner as time would go on. And honestly, Vapor 1, 2, and 3 all had synthetic uppers that actually felt better than this. Also, Superfly 1 was significantly thinner. This was, again, just kind of a very plasticky, overly structured upper, but it certainly looked really cool, and the tech behind it was very interesting, where Flywire was something that Nike was really pushing at that point in time. Of course, a low-cut design, which would ultimately no longer be a signature of the Mercurial Superfly series, with the Superfly 4 all the way back in 2014, and ever since then, the Superfly has had a collar. I don't see that changing anytime soon. And then there's the sole plate, where there's a bunch of things going on. Carbon fiber, which looks fantastic. Ultimately, I don't think makes for that much benefit in terms of performance, and it's certainly not as lightweight as what they're currently doing here with the split sole design and what they've done in the past as well. And then the stud pattern. I love the holes in the studs. This is something that I've been asking for Nike to bring back on their current generation football boots, especially Mercurials. I know it really doesn't make for any difference in terms of weight savings or performance, but it looks super cool. I still think it's really cool. And then you have the two Sense studs, which are supposed to be studs that adapt to the ground underneath your feet, where they're able to extend and retract approximately 2 millimeters, if I'm not mistaken. If I push on them right now, they don't move. It requires a significant amount of pressure. And again, the amount of movement that you actually get from this is pretty underwhelming. As a whole, I thought the traction was quite good as an FG stud pattern. But again, when compared to what Nike currently has from their FG pattern, this sole plate, the anatomic shaping, the bladed stud pattern, this is just significantly better. There isn't a single category where I think that this Superfly is at all even close to being outperformed by the Superfly 2. In terms of improvement over the course of 10 years, Nike could not have made a bigger jump. So as you can see, I've swapped out the stock Safari print laces, which admittedly look good, very true to the original, but unlike the OG Superfly 2 in this colorway, it does not have a Safari print tongue. Instead, it's Flyknit that's white and black in color, much more black when it's actually stretched out. So to match that, I've actually swapped in some black reflective SR4U replacement laces that actually look quite good in my opinion, and of course they're black. They're not going to get dirty really easily like the white ones will. If you're interested in some replacement laces for yourself, they're a great way to change up the style of your boots in a very inexpensive way. The website to visit is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below. So if you're interested in some for yourself, be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, as expected, I think the boots look fantastic. And what I've always really liked about this colorway is from a distance, they kind of just look like you're wearing white boots. It's not until you get really close that you actually get to see the Safari print detail. So it's very flashy, but also very subtle at the same time. Colorway aside, these are the same as any other Mercurials, either Vapor or Superfly. Of course, this is the Superfly variant, which gives you the collar. Some people hate the collar, some people love the collar. It's very low cut at this point, so you don't really feel it all that much. But if you are playing on artificial grass, which you probably shouldn't be doing in the FG variation, it definitely can help with letting those rubber pellets get inside of the boots. Other than that, there's not really any true benefit to it. As far as fit is concerned, they are Mercurial, so they fit very tight, wrap your foot very closely, and really give you this one-to-one connected feel. Super locked in, very responsive feeling as well. The anatomic sole plate, to me, is one of the best technologies in modern football boots, period. It just feels really good underfoot. And of course, in terms of width, because it is a tight-fitting Mercurial, if you have super wide feet, probably not ideal for you, but if you've worn Mercurials in the past and found them comfortable, these should fit you. You kind of know what to expect. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order some for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, either the Superfly or the Vapor, first link down below that's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to pick these up below their normal retail price. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you aren't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.